I want you to think of the last 5 things that made you smile. Now think of the last 5 things that you really got excited about, things that made you just jump for joy. Now think of the last 5 things that stressed you out or pissed you off. So here's the question. Which of these things came to mind the easiest? If you're like most people, thinking of things that made you smile maybe was hard. Maybe you couldn't even think of 5 things in that brief amount of time. Maybe you thought of 1 or 2 things that made you excited, but had to go back further in time. And if you're like most people, you had much less problem thinking about things that piss you off, or potentially thinking of things that made you upset or angry. And you probably thought of more stuff that pissed you off today than you could think of things that made you smile in the last week. So is it really that more bad things happen and you have nothing to smile about? Or is it that you've trained your brain to look for one thing over the other? Welcome to Change Made Easy. Changing your habits, routines, and behaviors is hard. We make it easy. I'm Paul Leviton, a board licensed coach who has been helping people just like you create positive change in their habits, routines, and behaviors for over 10 years. Albert Schweitzer said, "Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you're doing, you will be successful." But the thing is, it's hard to be happy about and love what you're doing when you're focused on the negative. And you saw just a moment ago that it's very easy to focus on the negative, easier than it is to focus on the positive. That's why today I'm going to tell you how to train your brain to refocus on the positive so that you can start living your happy and successful life. It's that simple. Now, let's make it easy. Today, I want to talk to you about celebrations and celebrating your wins. This is something that I have found to be more difficult than most people would realize. In working with hundreds, if not thousands of clients over the past 10 years, and in my own personal life, dealing with just people in general, working at a gym, working in the personal development space, I see far too often people who are really making progress, but never giving themselves the credit that they need or that they deserve for all the hard work that they're putting in. And while it may just seem like, well, oh, like that's kind of sad, these people should celebrate their wins, they earned it. I'm going to go a step further and explain to you today why not only is it just a nice thing to celebrate your wins, it's actually imperative and a necessary part of a growth journey, of a journey towards any large goal, whether it be weight loss, fitness, building a business, a relationship, or anything else. So I'm going to break all of that down to you. But first, before I jump into that, always a reminder, please, if you enjoy this podcast, support me by either leaving a 5-star rating and review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast, or again, share this podcast with someone who might enjoy it. Share it with a friend, post it on social media, post it on your Instagram stories and tag me, post it on Facebook and tag me. I always, always, always love to see that. So, celebrating your wins. Why is this so important? Why is this such a big deal to me? It's because people who celebrate their wins have a much higher probability of finding long-term success. Once again, I'm talking about any journey that you're going on. It doesn't matter what you're trying to achieve. The basic rules still apply. Fail to plan, plan to fail. If you fail to have a solid plan in place, you're automatically planning for failure. Because by not planning for the inevitable, I call that willful ignorance. There are certain things that may or may not happen, but then there's certain things that will always happen like clockwork. Clock strikes 12 twice a day, no matter what. So if we don't plan for that, if we don't have a set of steps in place for when that happens, it's willful ignorance. It's burying your head in the sand. And there are certain things that we know will be true for any type of personal growth journey, any type of, again, weight loss journey, fitness journey, any type of journey that we set out on. And some of these things that we know will be true at some point are that it will be hard. One saying that I probably say more than anything is, if it were easy, it would already be done. If it were easy, everyone would do it. If your thing is losing weight, clearly you have to set it as a goal because it's challenging, because it's not something that you will just naturally do. If your thing is getting rich, if your thing is exercising, if your thing is having a better relationship with your significant other or your kids or whoever, these things are not easy. They are inherently hard. The fact that we have to set them as a goal implies that, because you don't set goals for things that are easy. You don't set a goal to tie your shoe. You don't set a goal to overeat on Oreos. You don't set a goal to binge watch Netflix, because those things are easy. We also know that you will feel lonely and isolated at times. More often than not, these big goals, these things that we are working towards, are internal personal goals. So there's going to be times where you feel isolated and lonely, and there will be times when you want to quit. I tell this to every client that I work with in our very first call. It is not a question of if you are going to quit, it is a question of when. That is the game. The game is, can I want to quit and not? The game isn't, can I do this and just feel good about it all the time and be happy that I'm on this journey? That's never going to happen. That is a farce. It is nonsense to think that. We need to get that out of our head right now. We have to understand that it is going to suck. There are going to be times that you want to quit, but can we keep going through those times? Those are the people who make true progress. But to balance these, we also have to remember there are positive sides to everything. So we know it's going to be hard, and we know you're going to want to quit. But we also know that there can be no growth without struggle. There is a reason that you started this. There's a reason that you set off on this journey. Okay, you want the result. You want the weight loss. You want the business. You want the physique. You want to feel good. You want to be healthier. You want to be around longer for your kids and your grandkids. You want to have a better mood. You want to have better health. There's a million reasons to do what you're doing. And once again, if it were easy, everyone would do it. If it were easy, it would already be done. It cannot be easy. There can be no growth without struggle. That is a law of the universe. Things grow and change through friction only. So when it gets hard, we have to remember our deep why. And that's why episode 1 of this podcast, scroll all the way back if you've never listened to it, is start with why. Because you started for a reason. And if we can remember that, it's easier to keep going. And another thing that's very important to remember is that you have the ability. You can do it. I believe in you. I don't know if you believe in you, but I believe in you. Because everyone has the ability inside of them. We often feel like we don't, like we need something else, like we need some special strategy or some special guidance or something like that. And that can be helpful, but everything comes from within you. Even me as a coach, all I can do is offer my help, my guidance. I can be someone on the side to help make someone's journey easier, but I can't do it for them. This is always going to be your thing. And that means that you already have everything that you need inside of you. So although it's going to be hard, although you might want to quit at times, all you have to do is keep going. If you keep going, you will get there. And I want to talk now about an interesting concept known as the Stockdale Paradox. Stockdale Paradox, I first learned about in a book called Good to Great, in which an author named Jim Collins goes over a bunch of the top businesses of all time and the top corporations. And he basically breaks down what he studied and found out what were the key differentiators that made some businesses just good. Some businesses fail, and some businesses skyrocket to the moon and become what he considered great businesses. And while he was studying these great businesses, one of the stories that he tells in the book is about Admiral Jim Stockdale. And Admiral Stockdale was an admiral in the United States military during the Vietnam War. And his plane was shot down and he was captured and taken to a prisoner of war camp. And in this time in the prisoner of war camp, he was basically the top ranking American in the camp the entire time. And he stayed in that camp for 8 years until the Vietnam War ended. And over those years, he was tortured and obviously treated very poorly. And they tried to use him for propaganda. And he did a crazy ton of heroic things. His story is really crazy. You should go check it out. There's a lot of books about him and podcasts and YouTube videos and things like that. But the Stockdale Paradox came along when Jim Collins asked Admiral Stockdale about his time in the prisoner of war camps, and he asked him, why did some prisoners survive when others didn't? What was the thing that made some people able to persevere and come back to America alive, and other people didn't? They succumbed, they either died, some committed suicide, or what was the big difference maker? And Admiral Stockdale said that it was the people who had too much hope. It was the prisoners who were thinking, yeah, we're here, but we're going to be out by Christmas. And then Christmas would come and they'd still be there. And then say, yeah, but okay, we're going to be out by Easter. And then Easter would come and they'd still be there. And he said, Admiral Stockdale, that these people died of a broken heart. And there's a quote that I'll take directly from Admiral Stockdale and from the book. And he says, you must maintain unwavering faith that you can and will prevail in the end, regardless of the difficulties. And at the same time, have the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they may be. And I really love this quote and this story because it brings up a concept that I think is extremely important when we're talking about any personal growth journey or any journey in general, and that's being an optimal realist. I can't just be an optimist, because if I'm an optimist, those are the people who didn't make it because they were like, well, we're going to get out soon, and then they didn't get out. Well, everything's going to be all right, okay, and then it isn't. These are the people who, if you're talking about things that we're talking about, like losing weight, like getting healthy, like going to the gym, like starting a business, these are the people who think that it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows, all sugar plums and gumdrop candy bars or something. I don't know. But those people who think that it's going to be too easy are the people who fail. People who want it to be easy are definitely going to fail because it's not going to be easy. But the people who think like, okay, yeah, like I'll just work out for a few weeks and then everything will be different. Or I'll just open an Instagram page and then people will come to me and start paying me money. And that's how I'll start my business. Like, it doesn't work like that. So we do need optimism because we need to look towards the future. We need to be optimistic about what is possible. Because in the same way that those people who were over optimistic didn't make it, the people who were not optimistic at all also didn't. The people who had no faith that they would ever get rescued, the people who had no reason to carry on, obviously those people didn't make it either because those people had no reason to persevere. So we need to find that balance of optimism, looking towards the future, but also realism of understanding, okay, there are realities to the situation I'm in. There are realities to what I'm trying to do. And some of those realities might not be fun. They might not be the thing that I really want, but I'm going to still push towards the greater goal. Going back to what I was just saying about, you started this for a reason. So yes, I want you to be optimistic, but also be realistic. And there's another saying that gets thrown around a lot that I really like, and that's missing the forest for the trees, right? So missing the forest for the trees is talking about when you are looking so closely at something, you miss the bigger picture. I'm so caught up in the minutia that I miss the big macro of what's going on. Because you're looking right at one tree, you can't see the entire forest. But I think it's also important to understand that the opposite can also be true. when we are so focused on the macro, when we're so focused on the big thing, on the big goal, then it's easy for us to miss the tiny little things that happen on the way to that goal. If we're so focused on where I'm going to be in 5 years and my 5-year plan and how everything's going to be different, then I miss what happens each and every day that gets me there. And the way we live our days creates our life. Brian Kane, who I had on an episode of this podcast somewhere in the 30s, I don't remember the exact number. He's a peak performance coach and expert, and he has a great quote that I love that is, today plus today plus today plus today equals the rest of your life. So if we think about it like, well, it's just today, and I'm looking at the bigger picture, but today is everything. Today is all we have. So although we can get too caught up in just focusing on today and miss the forest for the trees, we can also get too caught up in just thinking about our 6-month, our 1 year, our 5-year, our 10-year plan, and then we forget about the importance of our day-to-day activities. Like everything that I'm always talking about, the answer is somewhere in the gray area. It's in the in-between. It's not focusing only on the future. It's not focusing only on today, but it's important that I do both. And I think that the reason it's important to talk about this is because it's easy for people to get caught up on the big picture, because that's the goal, right? The goal is losing 100 pounds. The goal is becoming a millionaire. The goal is becoming the CEO of my company. The goal is whatever. And that is something to focus on, and that we need that because that's what drives us forward. However, not thinking about the little things is a detrimental mistake that will cause us to lose faith and lose that excitement about what we're really doing, because the little wins are what build us towards the bigger win. And that's why I come back around to the title and the topic of this episode, which is the importance of celebrating your small wins. When you celebrate your wins, it refocuses you on the positive. If we're missing the tree for the forest, we're too focused on that big end goal, and we're thinking about that thing 6 months, a year from now that we're working towards, it's easy to get caught up in that. And then when we don't have it, because it's not coming for another 6 months, year, 5 years, it's easy to think like, well, I haven't gotten anything. Well, this is all for naught. And that's why we celebrate small wins on the way to remind us that even though I don't have that big thing yet, whatever that big audacious goal is yet, I still am doing this for a reason. I still am gaining things. I am pushing forward. I am getting forward progress and forward momentum. Celebrating wins also trains your brain to look for wins. If I can look at more things as wins and remind myself of that and celebrate those wins, my brain will start to see wins in more places. And by seeing wins in more places, I build momentum. And momentum is a huge, huge deal. I talk about this with my coaching clients every single week. That's the way to win the game. The game is not won in one big swoop. It's won in small, tiny bites. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. If my goal is to have a multi-million-dollar business, but right now I'm just starting off and just baking my first cookie, then it's so far off that it's almost impossible for me to stay motivated towards that task. Whereas if I can create small momentum by making my first sale, then having my first $100 day, then having my first $1,000 deal, then having my first whatever, and I keep building momentum, that keeps me motivated, that keeps me moving forward, that keeps me moving in the direction, at least so that I'm in the game long enough to possibly win. Because you can't win the game if you aren't playing. You can't get called to dance if you aren't on the dance floor. If you give up, that is when you fail. And celebrating wins trains my brain to look for these things. So I can do it subconsciously at a certain point. Right now, it's a very conscious effort, but eventually we start to be subconscious with it. And this is important because we have as humans what's known as a negativity bias. And a negativity bias is our brain is predisposed to search for and pay more attention to negative things, negative outcomes, negative events. It's bred into us from evolution, from thousands and thousands of years, as a safety mechanism. When we were hunters and gatherers on the Serengeti or in a cave or something like that, If you were out hunting and gathering and you found a berry bush and you ate the berries and they were poisonous, you needed to remember where the poison berry bush was so you didn't eat it again, or what those poison berries were so you didn't eat them again. So your brain is more likely to pay attention to negative things. Negative things are more salient in your brain. An easy way to understand this is everyone's had a day where you had a very regular day, all the normal things happened, you went to work, you talked to your friends, you went on social media, whatever, and you had one negative experience, like a traffic jam or someone cut you off or someone cursed you out, and it just ruined your whole day. So even though that was only a 5-second, 10-second exchange, your brain paid more attention to that one negative thing than it did to everything else. And that is the negativity bias in action. So in order to counter that, we have to train our brain to pay more attention to positive things. And celebrating wins is a great way to do that. We can always find things that went wrong. The first thing I do, again, when I talk to my clients every week is give me a win. And always, without fail, they have a thing, well, I did all right, but I could have done better with this, and I could have really, I did this, but it wasn't as good. I didn't ask that. I asked for a win. You can always find things that we can do better. No matter what you're doing. You could be Bill Gates, I'm sure, will tell you things about his business that he could do better. Jeff Bezos will tell you things about Amazon that he will do better. You can never be perfect. You can always find things to improve on. That's not the point. The point is to search for things that went well and own those things and let them build you up. Build up your self-esteem. So you need to fight fire with fire. Your brain is already paying more attention to the negative than to the positive. So in order to combat that, you need to start celebrating your wins. Celebrate your wins no matter what, no matter how small, no matter how trivial. And I'm doing air quotes here. You can't see me, but I'm saying trivial in air quotes because there's no such thing as a trivial win. It doesn't matter what your thing is. I just got off a call with a client about 5 minutes ago who was telling me about his wins. And one of his wins were that he started using a step counter and set a step goal. And because of that, his girlfriend saw him and she got inspired to do her own step goal. Amazing. I love that. He also said that he went out to eat with his girlfriend for date night. And even though he didn't order the best food, he only had half of the serving and ordered better than he would have in the past. Amazing. I love that. These are wins. This is all that it takes. These little things built over and over and over make a huge difference. Now imagine that same person hitting their step goal, making those small, healthier decisions, not just one day, not just 1 week, but for months or years at a time. That's going to be a person who is more active, who has lost weight, who has gained confidence, who has affected their family in a positive way. The effects of this can't be overstated. But the way he's going to become the person who does it one time or the person who does it 365 times or more is by celebrating those small wins and not overlooking them and not understating them and not being like, yeah, well, it was just one day. No, it was awesome. Just understand that although I am huge on celebrating your wins, we do need to celebrate the right way. Because a lot of people will take this to mean like, well, I can have cheat meals, or well, I went to the gym twice this week, so I can take a week off. And the way you celebrate matters as well. So some rules to make sure that you're celebrating the right way so that your celebrations are moving you closer to your ultimate goal and not farther away. So first thing I want to make sure is that our celebrations focus on inputs and not outcomes. So if your goal is to lose weight, losing 20 pounds is an outcome. That's the end outcome goal. But the inputs that get you to losing 20 pounds are things like taking more steps, changing your diet, exercising more. So I don't celebrate the wins of, okay, I lost 5 pounds because that's outside of my control. What I celebrate is the inputs that I do control. Did I get my steps in this week? Did I maintain the eating that I wanted to maintain? Did I drink my water? Whatever the goals you set for yourself, those are the things that you should celebrate. Did I do the thing that I was supposed to do? And if I do, I celebrate that. The next thing I want to know about celebrations is I want to make sure that they're celebrations that make me feel good. A celebration should be giving me an emotional response related to the goal. And I want it to be scalable as well, meaning the size of the celebration should match the size of the win. So if your thing is, I got my steps today, I'm not going to celebrate that with a whole pizza. So again, the important thing to understand about your celebrations is that they need to be focused on inputs, not outcomes. They need to be emotionally connected and related to your goal, and they should be scalable to the size of the win that you're celebrating. All right. So, as an action step for this week, I want you to think about what is a goal that you have for the week. And then I need to think of a celebration that I can do each time that I do my goal. And again, a celebration doesn't have to be anything tangible. It doesn't have to be a meal. It doesn't have to be going somewhere. It can literally just be, I'm saying go me. It can be an affirmation. Affirmations are great celebrations. So think about a goal that you can set, what it looks like to know for sure that it's done, and a reward that you can match to the level of that goal. And set that in place for the week and see how it makes you feel. Before you go, I have one favor to ask. If you got value from this episode, then take a moment and leave a rating and review in the podcast app you're listening on. If you like what you hear and you want me to continue creating more episodes, getting more awesome guests so that you can learn and make your change journey easier, then this is the best way that you can show support. You can leave an awesome review like Eliza K, who said, "This podcast is both warm and inviting, but real enough to push and motivate me." Thank you, Eliza. Or like Dalton, who said, "Paul is an amazing host and his podcast is a must listen." So thank you, Dalton. And thank you to all of the over 100 people who have taken the time to rate the show 5 stars on iTunes. It only takes a minute and it helps me so much to grow. It helps me reach a new audience and helps encourage me to know that this is helping someone, which just feels good. All you have to do is go to the show page in whatever app you're listening to and hit the little 5-star rating. And boom, that's it. And if you really want to show love, take a screenshot when you do it and tag me in your stories on social media, and I'll shout you out on an upcoming episode. Okay? Go leave that rating, and I'll see you back here every Tuesday and Thursday with new episodes of Change Made Easy.